So that would be great.
Well, I can do it.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for the Sedona Ascension Retreat series. We are so excited to have you all here with these incredible Ascension experts who are also going to be joining us live in Sedona in March. And just to introduce our amazing Ascension experts to everyone, I would like to introduce Doctors JJ and Desiree Hurtak, who are founders of the Academy for Future Science, an international NGO. They are social scientists and futurists, and also have Dr. JJ Hurtak has authored 20 books, including his bestseller, The Keys of Enoch, that has sold over 100,000 copies in 25 languages. Among his many books is one he co-authored with physicist Russell Targ entitled End of Suffering. Doctors Hurtak have together conducted extensive archaeological studies in Egypt and were two of the principal discoverers in 1997 of the tomb of Osiris. They have worked extensively around the world to support sustainable environment, as well as have participated in many disclosure conferences around the world and conduct significant trainings and teachings and conferences. They have written 10 books together, including The Over Self Awakening, published by the Academy for Future Science. So we're super excited to have Doctors Hurtak here today joining us and really sharing with us about Ascension and how they have been exploring and leading the way on this topic for over 40 years. And we also have with us Alan Steinfeld, who has been a leader in Ascension topics, as well as spirituality and consciousness for decades now. Alan has been involved with disclosure since he was a young child, and he has been tapping into how we can transcend the old limitations of our mind and go beyond mainstream psychology, education, and religions. And he has been the host of the internet sensation New Realities, which you can see on YouTube. And on this platform, he has interviewed every top researcher in the field of spirituality and consciousness, teachers, guides, and we're very excited to have Alan with us here today as well. And of course, we also have Suzanne Ross, who is the founder of the Sedona Ascension Retreats, and she has dedicated her life to the awakening and ascension of humanity through her books, services, TV network, radio shows, and the many events she has hosted. She is the author of the Up trilogy, Wake Up, Rise Up, and Lighten Up, and the executive producer of SciSpy.tv. And she guides celebrity tours and spiritual journeys into the Red Rocks vortex sites of Sedona. So welcome to all of you, Suzanne, Alan, Dr. Hurtak, Dr. Desiree, all of you. So thank you for joining us. I'm just really looking forward to diving into what does ascension mean for all of us in this moment of humanity.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's great to be here. This is a very exciting theme, ascension. And I consider it perhaps the most important aspect of spiritual science. In other words, it is the most serious, but also the most sublime aspect. It's, shall we say, the core teaching of not only the great Tibetan and Sanskrit traditions, but also the Hebrew Christian and Islamic traditions in the West, and of course, even of the indigenous world. Ascension experiences are based upon preparation or initiation into higher levels of wisdom. For without this higher preparation and knowledge, one enters doorways or dimensions of glory, but does not retain really the essence, the knowledge base that is important to be a servant in the world of the physical form.
Right, we just got back from Egypt, and of course, ascension connected with the, we'll say the god there, Osiris, was key to reality, because actually, it's a very interesting story if you're not familiar with it, that his brother killed him. So it shows the dichotomy that we exist in on this planet. But then Isis came and actually, even though he was divided up into 14 pieces, she allowed him to also conceive with her the son of Horus. So there's many levels of ascension. And I think for the most part, we like to talk about consciousness ascension, because I think a lot of us are here now for a very important time. So we're not trying to just leave the planet. We're here to raise our consciousness so that our consciousness links with those higher beings that we know exist in other dimensional realities. And so that's really going to be our focus. And some of this is related, of course, to Suzanne's upcoming conference in March. And we're going to be talking about how to really change and transform your consciousness.
I just want to say it's also an honor for me to be part of this, because ascension is something we all yearn for on a soul level. We yearn to raise our vibrational frequency. And I'm so happy Suzanne has had the wisdom and the fortitude to put these ascension conferences on, because it's a bringing together of these themes, of these activations. And it's also been my honor to work with JJ and Desiree Hurtak. Do you realize, Suzanne, this is their 50th year of being dedicated on the mission of ascension? In early January 1973, JJ actually is one of the few people I can say this about, had an ascension experience, real ascension, which I feel it's the vibratory frequency of your body reaches another rate and you transcend this 3D realm. And JJ's come back with the wisdom he put into the Keys of Enoch book of knowledge that is now helping the planet. And he did that in 73, and he held the last 10 keys back for this time. So in the last 8 years, he's released key 55 and he's going to 64. So we are in this age of transcendence where the wisdom of ascension is being brought to us by the Hurtaks. And Suzanne, you must be really thrilled they're going to be presenting at this conference that wisdom of ascension, because I know they've been a big influence on you. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I was introduced to their book about 10 years ago, and Alan came to my house and he saw how I had the keys stapled to all of the walls of my bedroom. Every key from 1 to 54 were pasted all over my bedroom, because I knew that these fire letters and key codes were teaching not only the wisdom, but that those symbols were activating me for ascension. And your book, JJ, was really my first introduction to ascension. And what I found so compelling, among many things about the book, was it sort of described how this ascension will actually take place. And so if you could expand upon that, I would be so thrilled. And thank you for presenting at my retreat. You presented at my last retreat in March, and it brought the house down. I mean, it was phenomenal. So I just love you both, and I just wanted to thank you for agreeing to come again in March.
Thank you so much for saying that. We're sitting before a magnificent lithograph called The Baptism of Fire, and it illustrates, really, if you look very carefully at the details, a scroll of names connected with the Archangel Metatron, known in scripture as Shaddai, who brings the scientific knowledge of the universe through pictographic or artistic forms. And this is so important in our teaching, is illustrated by multidimensional sacred geometries. Why? Because words are not sufficient to explain ascension. And when you get into ascension language, scientists are turned off, or psychologists who do not have the proper training do not understand the other dimensional planes of glory. So the mind must be quickened by these type of pictures, or what we call them cosmograms, cosmic understandings of experience. You cannot understand initiation and ascension without experience, and that requires both sides of the brain. We're trained in the West only to think in words without mental pictures. And that's the problem of science and spirituality. They're out of balance. And so our teaching represents a higher spirituality of synthesis, of the inner structure of the human tabernacle as the divine vehicle for ascension, but also for teaching in the practical world of science, sociology, psychology, ecology, and the overall impact of what happens when humanity awakens through the realization we're not alone in the universe, and we're asked now to, shall we say, join as a planetary society with our cosmic counterparts who want a positive future to prevail.
And that's how we also work closely with Alan, because the whole concept of the fact that we're not alone, and this is something we want to get out also to the youth, that this planet is not the be all and the end all, and that it can be constantly aligned with higher thought forms of light that can help to not only transform ourselves and prepare us for ascension, but also to help the whole planet. We do prayers for peace all the time. That's a very important thing. We believe we all need to be empowered. And when we are able to do some of these, we'll say, empowerments on a positive level, we're literally starting to connect with the divine spirit throughout the universe. And then that information, that flow comes into us, and we're able to generate not only changes for ourselves, but changes for the planet and align, because that's what the other forces of light really want us to do. They don't want us to just be, logs on a stump somewhere. They want us to be active. They want us to help humanity. And the first thing, I even had a girlfriend who, finally in a meditation, she goes, I really want to help humanity. She did it very deeply. Her whole life changed. It was transformed. Maybe she didn't go through an immediate ascension, but everything changed in her life. So that's like part of the steps to realize it's not just us. When we align with these higher forces, we start going through this consciousness connection, which really leads to consciousness ascension. As Dr. Hurtak said, it really does take a direct experience.
It's really service to humanity. So there cannot be ascension without descension, coming back in service to humanity. Otherwise, it's just a buzzword. I've had this experience, or I had this mystical experience, so I've seen higher master teachers. And that's just simply verbal expressions that do not really carry the weight and the experience of what ascension really is about, which is participation with the divine family, participation with the glory of God, realizing we as human servants are spiritual beings in human form will have the objective of raising consciousness in dealing with the whole spectrum of life, not just on a personal basis, but on a collective basis.
Right. And so ultimately, we feel that we have come to this planet now, and I mean the 8 billion people that are now on this planet. We've all come here not only for our own personal soul evolution and to be, in some cases, challenged by events taking place around us, but also, in a sense, many of us have come here now to, we'll say, make a difference. We've actually, as Dr. Hurtak just said, descended from those lines of reality to help this planet go through these vast changes that we believe is going to come, so that we're all prepared and helping others for a greater ascension. It's almost this greater vortex that's going to start opening, where, as Alan wrote in his book, Making Contact, vehicles of extraterrestrials are going to be seen, but oftentimes, even in people's bedrooms, light beings are going to be seen. So that's all part of this ascension process.
However, without mental and spiritual unity, it is just simply words, it's phenomena. And that's the problem of being captured in external reality or phenomena, rather than seeing the maturity of noumena, or the inner mental expansion of consciousness. This is so important to understand. Initiation and ascension for us in the 21st century will mean a vast expansion of consciousness, a greater sense of human unity of people of all backgrounds and traditions and cultures, and also a positive preparation of knowledge, so that when we come out of ascension work, we realize we are here as greater servants of a much higher divine plan that's no longer under the control of the social or the political or the economic masters or technical elites that have led us into a situation of biospheric, shall we say, near collapse. We are beginning to realize suddenly that we must change the game around. And that begins with the ability to be servants of the human race.
That's why I feel we're here today, because we're doing this not for ourselves, but for the bigger population. And that's why Suzanne is dedicated to it, and also to bring Tangela into this conversation. Soul Search is dedicated to community awakening, and I would say ascension. Would you say that, Tangela?
Yeah, definitely, Alan. I love what Dr. Hurtak were saying about ascension, because we really are moving into this higher spirituality of synthesis, like you all mentioned. And, we're moving away from, focusing on spirituality as just self transformation, and into this higher spirituality of unity consciousness and being here for service for one another, not just our human brothers and sisters, but our galactic and cosmic family. And so we are seeing this massive expansion happening, which is truly what Ascension is all about. And this is really transforming the entire conversation around spirituality and consciousness for the world. So, I'm really excited about just the way that you all have been expressing what Ascension is, Dr. Hurtak, and both Alan and Suzanne, everything that you all have been creating is really in support and in preparation for this new conversation that is, we're all committed to really bringing forth on a global level.
Thank you so much for saying that. And on the cover of our book, I'm holding up Keys of Enoch, we have the divine name, but also the descent of the spirit. The 7 rays of light represent ascension on 7 different levels, from the atomic and subatomic to the mental, the musical, the mathematical. The whole spectrum means that we must wake up. In order to do this, we need a spiritual resonance. And that's why our work down through the last few decades has been to emphasize spiritual music with Stephen Halper, with Alice Coltrane, with many of the great singers in different parts of the world. Without a musical vibration and balance within ourselves, within our heart, it's just words. It's just a word game. And that's been the problem of religion and science, playing the situation on a chessboard, where you move the places and the people around, but there's no inner transformation that takes place. And so what we are saying to you now is the opportunity to see the full glory of the divine within the human dimension.
And so I think at the end of the conference as well, or our speaking, as well as maybe at the end of this, Alan, if you'd like, we can actually do a little bit of a meditation, because I think that that's also important. Because really, I mean, you can talk about ascension, you can describe what you're connecting to, what you're ascending to. And I think that's important, because many people talk about the 5th dimension. Okay, well, what do you see in the 5th dimension? Well, I see myself. Well, you don't just see yourself. If you really get to the 5th dimension, you see beings, you see lots of other, realities that are also there. And so we have to realize that we can communicate right now. We can be a part of that 5th dimension. And astronaut Edgar Mitchell spoke about this overview effect, which means you have a better vision than what you have here. So that, to me, that's part of ascension consciousness, where you're not just looking at the news, you're not just looking at the emotions, do I love this person or hate that person? You're not looking at just the intellectual reality of whether, the stock market's going to go up. Well, let me analyze that. You actually have an insight. You have a greater understanding. When you tap into ascension consciousness, you actually can see past, present, and future in a much more aware understanding. So what's going to be happening, and why the circumstance.
And you need spiritual tools. You're not trapped in the past without understanding why you're incarnate here in the present. You need spiritual tools of awareness, so you don't live in fear of the present, what's going to happen in the future someplace, but understand the positive glory of God is with you in the present, and you're here to share this glory and this creativity.
And Alan is going to talk also at the program on remote viewing. And I always said, like, for COVID, if you had that insight, which we all should have and we all can have, that's the important point. You'd know what, gas pump to pull up to that's not going to give you any kind of bacteria. I mean, what's my friend who used to, Elizabeth Rauscher, we did a book together with her called Mind Dynamics. She used to remote view the food store when I said, what do you want for dinner? I mean, you can make it very, very, very practical. And that's part of this ascension consciousness.
The higher gifts of spirit mean really international ability to communicate, distant communication, of healing, of giving insights and knowledge without the traditional separations of space and time. These are the gifts from above in the age of spirit, or the Holy Spirit, that give us holistic energies.
Well, I want to say, not only is it everything you're talking about, that yes, the gifts of the Holy Spirit and the higher consciousness, I think it's also a lot of fun to be working towards this collective consciousness, and we're all in this together and we're sharing this vibratory field. It's not like you're doing this on your own and it's hard work. We're in this big gathering of family and community, and it is about love. It's about joy. It's about following your guidance. It's about tapping into your essential nature. And it's really so much fun to know you have these gifts. So when I teach remote viewing, which I did last year at Suzanne conference, and we'll do it again, you are tapping into your divine knowing. I think it's so ironic, Desiree, I think, and JJ, you appreciate that the CIA has introduced us to our divinity, because the remote viewing was developed by the CIA to psychically spy on the Russians, and they didn't know they were opening the door to the infinite nature of humanity. And when I teach that, it's amazing. 90% of the people get their first target. It's like, okay, what's in, where's this person? And they tune in, they open up this higher mind, this non-local mind, and I'm always amazed that people get it. But then it's like, no, we are the infinite consciousness, and it's natural for us to be remote viewers, remote sensors, remote influencers. All these things of the non-local mind is one aspect of the ascended consciousness. And that's where this is just one of the gifts of the spirit, but there's so much more. But this is the most accessible for people. It's a place to start, and everything Suzanne is bringing to the conference, if you want to name some, Suzanne, besides remote viewing, which I'm happy to present there, is about a gift to the spirit. So do you want to tell us? I mean, I'm happy that Hurtak's will be there.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes. And so speaking of natural time warp areas, Sedona is definitely a vortex center and a crystal city of light. And so, of course, we're going to guide people into these vortex sites around Sedona. And we call them ascension portal journeys or an ascension tour, because from your book, Keys of Enoch, I understand that these are natural vortexia sites that are conducive to connecting into cosmic consciousness. And so we have Sedona spiritual guides, as well as people like Michael Jaco and Matt Kahn taking people into these sacred sites. And thank you, Alan. Also, there are many people offering workshops during our event, as well as these major presentations in the main theater. Speaking of natural time warps, Brad Olson and I are creating a television series it's all about going to these 12 sacred sites. So, because we understand that they are interconnected through magnetic lines. And that's something that you really talk about in the Keys of Enoch, JJ.
Absolutely.
Can you expand upon that?
Yes, we're here making this great conversation from Sedona.
As are you, Suzanne.
And we work with some of the indigenous elders who have shared with us their spiritual perspectives of how there is a vast labyrinthine system under the physical city of Sedona. This was called a crystal city by elders even before Hopi appeared on the scene. But we know through our own work, through remote viewing and remote sensing, that these areas have been kept really quiet and protected from those who simply would come through with a lot of noise and fanfare without showing deep respect for the vibration of the crystalline nature of Mother Earth. And as we anchored the higher mind spirit into the base of our spinal system, but also into the network of the labyrinthine network of Sedona and places like Sedona, we actually emphasize how mind over matter works and how we begin to utilize the forces of creation and co-creation productively for people who now begin to acquire the proper attitude, the proper reverence, and the proper heart-centeredness that will make it possible to move large numbers of people into essential work with the arrival of the divine or cosmic hierarchy.
So let me just say, I think anywhere you live on the planet, you can experience some aspect of ascension. But when you come to places like Sedona or also in the larger grid network, the Great Pyramid, for example, parts of Hawaii, there's parts, all over the world. You're starting to connect and really align with this almost like a pyramidal force that is activating your consciousness to receive. And I make this almost like a reception. It's almost like Orion. If you ever looked at Orion, you have actually kind of a pyramid coming down, connecting with a pyramid going up, and you have 3 stars, kind of an interesting scenario, a Trinity power in the very center. This is what I think a vortex is about, even on this planet, although we don't see it. And so it's that energy that we're starting to tap into. And the energy is vast. It goes out and around.
The triangulation of space, time, and energy that is now heart-centered, that produces not simply light, but superluminal light, or more intense light experiences that bring knowledge, wisdom, and love into a sense of balance and harmony. Because people are preaching one thing but doing another, and that's been the sad history of traditions and religions that have missed the point of celebration and unity. And so with the larger picture of the divine, that is the source, that is the feminine, as well as the masculine in unity, we enhance our experiences. We enhance our work, each of us as ministers or teachers or emissaries of light in a world going through a vast change, we believe, in preparation for the manifestation of the cosmic hierarchy.
And if I can say, that's what the Trinity power is all about, or the triangle, tetrahedron, pyramid, because you have the right side, the left side, but you have them in unity. And when they're in unity, they produce energy. They produce children, one could say, but they also produce like a light generation that is able to be transformative. So it's that balance of male, female in unity that creates the Trinity power, which is part of our necessity, we'll say, for finding that ascension. You can't be you have to have that balance within you and within your heart chakra.
I would like to mention one of our other teaching tools, which is through film, video, now MP3 format.
And we usually show a little bit at the seminars.
This one document we've received numerous international film awards for is called The Light Body. And you see the human going through an arch of light from the 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension. This highlights work we did in India, in Easter Island, in various parts of South America, and certainly in Egypt, showing how the sacred areas are sacred because they prepare us for the holistic unity.
And if I can jump in for one more minute, I know one of the other great people who are coming, although there's many great speakers, is William Henry, and he's a personal friend. In fact, he just did a book called Ascension, which is coming out right now, and we did a few additional pages because the publisher always likes some additions in there. And so it's going to be a great book, but he's going to be able to have it at the conference and talk about it at the conference, because there's a lot going on with that. He talks about how to clear the mind, how to clear the consciousness as part of that ascension process.
And William is also really into how art can activate us for ascension and the perfection of the rainbow light body. I know his series on Gaia TV called Ascension Keepers hypnotized me for 2 weeks as I watched every episode back to back to back to back. But certainly throughout that, he presents many famous works of art as a way to activate the rainbow light body.
So he also shows that ascension is not new. Of course, we know, of course, Christ ascended, and we were just recently talking about the Shroud of Turin, because we've actually gone physically to Turin, Italy, to see it twice. And that just shows that you can take in terms of physical ascension, you can take every physical cell of your body and energize it, literally transform it, and it becomes light. We believe in terms of our cosmology, that we originally were light energy bodies. In fact, the book of Genesis says that. What does it say? After the fall, you took on bodies of skin. Well, what was before the bodies of skin? Obviously, light energy bodies. So we literally came from that light scenario. We believe every code in our body is able to transform itself back into light energy. And that's what the Shroud of Turin showed, where it actually showed how literally every cell of Christ's body was able to transform back into the light.
So Desiree, allow our audience to see what I'm pulling up, which is the image enhancement analysis being made by European and American scholars of the image of the Christ figure. But now on the side, we see the Greek the Latin, the Hebrew
Of elected,
names that appeared on the death certificate we believe the Roman authorities put over the shroud. This is very important because what we see here also around the mouth of Jesus under his beard, an ancient Aramaic sign for the Aleph, which means the speaking of a higher language of ascension. This is so important because the keys of Enoch even illustrate this Aleph around the mouth of Jesus some 30 years before this analysis was made. So we're talking about key scientists from NASA and from Los Alamos, New Mexico, as well as from Europe that were involved behind the scenes and looking at the reality that the Christ figure is important because he transformed his body cell by cell into light, into higher light manifestation.
and as William will say, and many others as well, this is not new. This actually also has happened to many sages in the Far East, especially in India, who are able to either preserve their body or literally transit their body back into their light body. So, I mean, we think it's a profound experience, but go ahead.
Well,
Alan?
the bottom line,
The
go
reason
ahead, Alan.
Ascension conference is happening now is because the earth is vibrating at a different frequency, which makes that biophotonic potential in all of our cells possible. So yes, Jesus and other masters have led the way, but now we are reaching a place of this multidimensional awareness where the cellular structures are increasing their molecular rate of vibration. So the ascension wave, if you want to call it that, is coming through humanity. And if we're ready for it with our multidimensional awareness, we might be able to catch that wave and be taken into the fifth dimension or where with your bodies, with our bodies, as JJ did. So,
As you're saying that, you're in a situation in the sun and shadow patterns on your face that give us a sense of transformation that takes place where part of us is in this third dimension, part of us is now in the fifth dimension. Fourth dimension being a mathematical construct of Einstein.
Of time.
But we are an amazing team here, bringing together a whole new direction of people who should not be afraid of the future, should not be afraid of the externalization of the divine hierarchy, should not be afraid of their Christ potential, and certainly should not be afraid of the higher traditions that come from the East and the West that tell us we are spiritual beings in human form. We have assignments to do within the short life that we have on this planet, not only to be happy and holistic, but to be healthy as spiritual beings who are no longer subservient to the dualistic split between science and religion, both preaching a type of cosmology that works but doesn't work for the collective humanity. So our work is what we will call a synergistic symphony of sound, of art, of new psychology, of new writing, exemplified by Alan. And of course, Angela, your new series is so important to get people to realize that we are on a spiritual quest, but that is clearly consistent with that of the authentic prophets and mystics that have told us we are here to serve humanity. That's the whole purpose of our human form, not to collect plastic garbage, to ignore the cry of Mother Earth, and simply to overlook the passions and pains of minority people throughout the world. But we are here to be Christ beings in the sense of the transformative story, not simply to go to heaven and forget about earth. No, we're here to come back from the heavens and to come down to earth and do the serious problem solving and the teaching that we need to open a whole new path of unity.
And that really gives us the soul awareness and the soul awakening to be able to connect back to not just the fifth dimension, even though that's the easy one to talk about, but even the 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th dimension. Dr. Hurtak believes there's actually 24 dimensions because his experience, which was very unique, he was taken in a pillar of light and his body was taken to a certain point, and then his consciousness energy went the rest of the way, but he was shown about the myriad heavens and a lot about the past and future of this planet. And so he's going to show us a little example of
this is one of several of the contact experiences I had. One in Mexico, I'm holding the picture, my fingers on the face of a woman whose husband took the picture. Suddenly light appeared around my body when I was singing the names of God. And in the glorious sense of the Christ experience, of the divine experience, we share this in humility with all, not that I'm somebody that's special. No, everybody can have this experience of light if they want to be in service. But the key is ascension requires initiation. Initiation requires the openness of experience. The openness of experience requires a higher love-centered message.
And his experience on the other side was that this is what he was told, that the beings he encountered there, which were light beings mainly, well, they were all light beings, really said, you know, we're here to help everything and everyone transform. We're here to try to evolve the consciousness of this local space and time reality. And it's not just them. There's many levels of intelligence working together to help us to awaken to that greater transformation for the opening. We think this is a critical time when literally, even if it's just extraterrestrials that are going to be appearing on this planet, we think it's more than that. We think it's actually many levels of intelligence, light beings, extraterrestrials, what we call ultra terrestrials that are going to be here helping us to make that ascension. So you don't do it alone, but you have to be prepared and willing to help humanity and to transform your own consciousness into that which resonates. I mean, they don't want you going up there. Even Alan always says about Stanton Freeman says, even extraterrestrials don't want, you know, to have beings that are just their favorite pastime is war. So we have to, why would they want us up there?
But I think that's right. We need to identify why the keys speak of the ultra-terrestrials rather than extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials have been playing a game with the human race for well over 85 years.
Not all of them, of course.
Of course, not all of them, but the people now are gravitating between right and wrong or whatever the game. And we have to understand that the true teachers of light and glory, we would call historically the angelic or the avatars, bring the light clearly and expose the light clearly. So there's no longer this game of one-upsmanship. And this is so important.
Because that's happening more and more now.
We are being given really through this great outreach that you, Tangela, are doing, and you, Suzanne, are doing, and you, Alan, you are the avant-garde of a whole new educational process of reaching out to tell the truth, but tell it positively and to see the whole story and not unwind the story with conspiracy this or conspiracy that, where people are afraid of their own spiritual nature. No, this is the time of what we call in the ancient traditions, the Shekinah or Shekinah, the glory that must emanate through our body, our mind, and our soul.
And the divine presence, that's the
I
definition.
think what you're really talking about, JJ, Desiree, Suzanne, Tangela, is that this is a time of coming into the sacred, the realization that these forms are sacred. It is a sacred awareness. That's why I like hanging out with JJ and Desiree. They say prayers every night. They are my mentors in reminding me of the sacred is present in everyday action. I never see them argue. Occasionally you might hear, but no, their mission of being together is, you know, it's like I say, the problem with relationships is the relationship, and their mission together is for a higher purpose. So it's not like this, you did this, it's like together they're walking a path of ascension and the sacredness, and they are great teachers of that for the rest of humanity, because they've dedicated their lives to something bigger than themselves. And that's why I love hanging out with them. That's what, of course, Suzanne, Tangela, I try to do that. We're all doing that on some level. So I'm really happy to be in this company.
Thanks,
Can
Alan,
we talk
so
about
much.
the superscripts? I'm sorry, Tangela,
Okay.
but I just want to make sure within, you know, we have 15 minutes left, that we're able to explore the superscripts that JJ is revealing in these additional 10 keys.
406.
Okay, certainly, yeah. So we're going to get a copy here for us to show some of the audience, and we'll have, hopefully we can make this available at the conference. I'm hoping we can make some of our books available.
We've just come out
there.
one entitled,
This is a different one. This is called the 76 Names of the Cosmic Christ.
that's well illustrated with the different levels of service of how we are really part of a faithful witnessing of major changes now taking place
And
in
this
the
is
world.
what Suzanne was talking about. This is one of them. This is the fifth light picture superscript, and it talks about the divine family. So it's not only our family on earth, and how you incarnate, how you find your spiritual family, but it's also connecting to your family in the heavens, because we believe everyone has spiritual parents, not necessarily the physical parents.
As we see here in the prologue, we're seeing climate change, and some people see disaster and nemesis, catastrophe, but we see the coming of beings of light on the horizon to remind us that the true spirit is eternal, that we go through momentary changes in this planetary realm of reality, but ultimately, if one is, shall we say, of the light, and one begins to find the light and service, one sees through the illusion of death and finality.
And this is what some of the things like Suzanne had on her wall. This is what we call the superscript of each key. And it's this
going back to the ancient prophetic use of Aramaic and Hebrew letters later in the Arabic traditions.
And all the 400 series start with I am that I am, which is also the name of God told to Moses. But what we kind of also see it as a cosmic reality,
a cosmic language,
where my I am can attach with the higher I am. So I am that I am as well. And that's part of the energy connected with ascension.
The first one, 401, was thou shalt be
the light. The light. And when you realize the divine source is the light, then you begin to see that out of the light comes the image of the divine. Traditionally, one does not paint pictures or illustrate the divine face, but the idea is there is a symbolism there that we see within our mind's eye, that we're all part of a much larger ongoing creation. We are co-creators, co-participants in a process on a spiritual level that requires a higher wisdom to be awakened within our heart. Without this, it's just all words. It's all what I would call religious window shopping, looking for external realizations rather than having eternal presence of the divine spark. And when we have that, then we begin to understand, as we illustrate also in one of our new books on the names of the cosmic Christ, how there's a process of ascension, not into nothingness, but into somethingness, where we see we have companionship, we have fellowship, we have understanding of the supergalactic, homo galacticus. And with this comes the understanding that there is homo universalis, or universal humanity, behind the scenes, wanting us to wake up on Schoolhouse Mother Earth and take responsibility for our actions, no matter how short life may be for some, no matter how long it may be for others. We're all in this together. To use the expression of Bucky Fuller, spaceship Earth, Mother Earth is in a troubled water and is going from one side to the other. We must be that centering focus of love, wisdom, and compassion.
So you're going on to the 408. Is that coming up this Easter? Can you talk about?
Which is the higher wisdom tradition, the higher awareness that the tree of life we find in all major parts of all cultures.
But what we should have by the conference of Suzanne, we'll have 407, we hope, and that's how to open the first 7 chakras, but then also talk about the 8th to the 14th chakra.
So we are witnesses of multidimensionality, which means, as you said earlier, Ellen, Stanford Research Institute and other think tanks have wanted to put down the power of mind over matter. They just the opposite. They found that the mind has exceptional power when we begin to work with the consciousness keys of evolution. We begin to nurture a whole new reality. We realize we're multidimensional beings. We're no longer locked in a dark closet where people are saying, beware of the big black bear that's going to bite off your head, or beware of the nefarious underworld of spirit. No, we see the angelic authentically. We see what is called by the prophets the B'nai Elohim, the sons and daughters of God.
And so for ascension, and if I have to say what I believe ascension is, it's not something you can do by yourself. You do it actually as part of your work on this planet, and you do it first, maybe even primarily in your connection with your divine family of light, whoever that is, wherever that is. They help to align you and bring you into their fellowship. And then you realize you can share. And this is Dr. Hurtak experienced this on the other side when he was there. And then he came back like Enoch did with the information that he was connected literally with his spiritual family in the heavens.
So we have a few remaining minutes. Let's meditate together. I'm going to intone the word Elohim, which means the Godhead or the source of sources.
It's a creative power as well.
And with this, as you look now behind where we're sitting as you see this glorious unfoldment of light, the so-called trifold or the trichia in Sanskrit, the Trinity concept in Latin, space-time and energy converge. And out of this, we see the coming of the divine image. Listen very carefully. I'm going to pronounce this 4 times. The first aspect of God's name, the one. Elohim, 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 Elohim. Center on the breath. Take your consciousness off that active side of your brain that's always confusing and always interrupting your deeper state of meditation. Understand that in the beginning was not the big bang, but the big breath, the prana. And through the vibration of breath, we are allowing ourselves to see the glorious thought forms of light, the glorious pictures, the glorious sacred geometries that make up this fantastic universe.
And take your first step into realizing your interconnectedness with all of life, with life around you, your spiritual family, but also all the planets. You can help to heal even while sitting in your room. You can send energies of peace and of love to any place or any person on the planet. And collectively, we can make a difference. But you can also connect to your spiritual guides, to your divine family that exists in the heavens that want to help you to grow, to develop, to really evolve your soul into oneness and into helping all of life, no matter on this planet or any other planet or any other realm that you are taken to.
In the great lithograph behind us, we see also the angelic faces of light. Let us visualize now that we are part of a divine family that is internalizing as well as externalizing as we see the light around our body from our breath. All 7 chakras or seals are being opened, and our whole spinal system becomes like the staff of the Good Shepherd. We begin to work with the Moshedim, the teachers and the shepherds of the universe.
Let us use the Greek expression soma phos. This is the body of light. That's part of what we're looking at for ascension. In fact, you can feel that body energy. You have it even around you and within you. Your body of light is still with you. It's not separated. You've just ignored it for years. So
take a deep breath and feel the phos, the light from photonics that Ellen speaks about.
In Greek. Soma phos.
Together. Soma phos. Elongate the breath. Soma phos around the world. Soma phos. Feel the universe. Soma phos. Soma phos. Soma phos. Soma phos. And ultimately, the divine presence, we thank you, divine source, creator of all creation, for giving us this incarnation, giving us this breath, this voice that speaks of the tabernacle of spirit within our heart. Allow us at the sacred heart of the cosmic Christ within us, with all master teachers of light, to join in the great assembly of those who are being quickened and brought into the awareness that we are reaching a new frontier in the house of many mansions.
So
let the
feel
prayer
that
and praise be upon us.
Go ahead,
Feel
Alan.
that light. Feel that light entering into your field, entering into your crown, going through your chakras, out the bottom of your feet, and feel the illumination of spirit in form. You are the incarnate of the essence of the light form. We are that which we are. Tangela, you want to add something there?
Just for everyone to really feel all of this light that we have created within us and are reverberating out throughout the world and throughout the cosmos and throughout the multiverses, because this is the true experience of ascension that we are all creating together as one in unity consciousness.
And
And Suzanne, to add also?
Thank you. I take a daily walk, and when I do, I look directly into the divine portal, which is our sun. And our sun is connected to the great central sun at the core of creation. And I know that divine encoded light is pouring through that divine portal into my heart and encoding me and many others with these divine codes of creation for our ascension.
And so it is, and so it shall be. Worlds of worlds within worlds, creations within creations. The great ascension process is in motion. And now it is to each of us take a higher path and to realize in taking the higher path, a greater unity shall come and be quickened in our midst. And we shall always rejoice as being sons and daughters of light who have discovered the divine within the human. In this great partnership of the human with the divine, we shall understand the great stories of ascension with Enoch, with Elijah, with Moses, with all of the great mystics down through history who have seen the eternal and have come back to serve the human. And so shall it be. In dedication and peace, we shall go forth, and light shall prevail on earth as it is in heaven. As we say, the four great amens for humanity in the four directions. Amen, 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 and amen. So be it.
And thank you, Tangela, for hosting us. And Suzanne, it's going to be a great conference. We want to recommend everybody to come to Sedona. It's really, the vortex is going to be opening for our consciousness understanding.
Join us there for more of this high energy activations with the Hurtaks, me, Tangela, Suzanne, and many more that are bringing in these light codes. They're activating. There are teachers dedicated to this process of awakening individually and collectively. It's a fantastic gathering of individuals. My old friend Paul Selig will be there because his whole work is about bringing in the divine. I know William Henry is. I know Matt Kahn's work is about bringing in the divine. So this is a festival of the divine. This is a festival of ascending together into the higher realms. And I know everything Soul Search is dedicated to is part of that mission as well. So join us in Sedona, March 17th to the 19th, 2023. It's really going to be fun. It's going to be informative. It's going to be activated. And we're a community on the move to the next dimension. So be there with us. So thank you, Suzanne and Tangela. Any final words from you, Suzanne, about the conference?
Tangela, do you have it to screen share for us so we can kind of take a look at who else is going to be joining us? Of course, we know that Alan is going to be a speaker, and our friend Michael Jaco. Of course, Matt Kahn is amazing. He's called the I Love You guy because he's all about love. Billy Carson, who's been to sacred sites around the world and teaches Merkaba mysticism. Suzanne Wilson, she brings in the channeling of spirit. Maureen St. Germain writes books about ascending into 5D. Our beautiful friend Alan Steinfeld, Brad Olson, a dear friend of mine, and of course the Hurtaks. Deb Giusti will be hosting an ascension panel, and John Dumas and Jade Lyons offer a tremendous sound journey. JJ was talking about the importance of sound, and so they'll be in the backdrop the whole time, bringing in this incredible harmonics. Also, I want to recognize Neil Garr, who is a premier sponsor, the Portal to Ascension. And then, of course, our friend George Noory, who through Coast to Coast really brings in nightly people who are dedicated to the awakening and of ascension. And then we have as his guests, the UFO guy, John Polks, Dr. Sky. Billy Carson will also be part of that show. And James Von Praga, unfortunately, won't be able to make it, but George is bringing in another surprise guest. And they, too, will have a guest panel that's called Interdimensional Adventures. So we're really excited about that as well. Thank you so much, Tangela. I so appreciate it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time out today. And, of course, we invite each and every one of you to join us here in the powerful portal of Sedona.
Love the interdimensional panel. Let me know about that. That sounds really, really fun. You know, and Tangela, you're making so much possible with your connections with Soul Search, soulsearch.io. Tell people what they have to look forward to there.
Thank you so much, Alan. And just want to thank you, Drs. Hurtak and Suzanne Ross, all of you, coming together to really support this next level transformation that we're all going through together. And everyone who's watching and who just, you all were able to experience some of this energy that each one of these teachers and guides are really bringing through. And that is beyond, the historic confines of religion and hierarchies. We are seeing a new way of being, a new definition of spirituality, a new experience of divinity that is, complete unity, consciousness, multidimensionality, and experiencing that divinity through so many levels of frequency, vibration, music, sound, art, mantra. So, we are all moving into this next level experience of what it means to be human and divine together. And I just really want to recognize all of you here for really leading the way. And Suzanne's conference, the Ascension Retreats Conference in Sedona, is really an incredible opportunity where you will be able to engage with each of our teachers here and many, many more. Suzanne just introduced to us in person for 3 days straight in the powerful vortex energies of Sedona. So I invite all of you to join us either in person in Sedona or via the live stream for the Ascension Retreat Conference. And at Soul Search, we are a platform for spirituality, consciousness, and transformation, and really bringing out to the world this opportunity of healing and transformation that's available to all of us, not just at the personal level, but at the community level, at the global level, at the cosmic level. And this is, again, a new way of being in the world that we are really excited to be partnering with everyone here to bring forth. So I just want to thank you all again for your time and efforts and energy, everything that you're doing to bring forth the ascension and really creating this new vibration on the planet. I want to thank all of you.
Really fun to be with
Thank you.
Thank you.
you. Thank you, Suzanne. We'll do more, Suzanne, Tangela, of course, JJ and Desiree.
Yes. Definitely. So stay tuned. We'll be having more Ascension Retreat discussions with many more of our speakers and guests from the Ascension Retreat coming up in Sedona. And we'll also be hosting more interviews and discussions with Alan and Drs. Hurtak here as well. There's so much more to discuss. And, we're really excited just to continue the conversations together. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. Well, many blessings. Namaste.
Okay, namaste.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Alan.
Thank you, Tangela. Thank you.